All right, let's dive right in. We're taking a look ahead to 2026, which is shaping up to be a huge year. A year where AI stops being just another tool in the toolbox and becomes the actual foundation of business. So, what does that shift really mean? Let's break it all down.
And to really get us started, this quote from Amit Nair just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly sets the stage for everything we're about to talk about. No matter how wild AI gets, at the end of the day, it all comes back to data. This is the bedrock.
So here's the bottom line. We're officially past the let's try it out phase with AI. The game has totally changed. We're seeing companies move beyond just sprinkling in a few AI features. They're now architecting their entire operations around it.
And that brings us to what we're calling AI's next chapter. You know, we really see 2026 as that tipping point where AI isn't just a cool pilot project anymore. It becomes the true operational backbone of the whole enterprise. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. There's a paradox here. A massive 70% of organizations say AI is a strategic priority. But, and this is a huge but, most of them still don't have the solid governance in place to actually scale it safely. That creates this huge gap between ambition and reality, and that's the challenge we're going to dig into.
So for anyone in a leadership role right now, the conversation has completely shifted. It's not about if you should use AI anymore. The real question is, how are you going to build a foundation with it that's durable, scalable, and governed for the long haul?
Okay, so if businesses are building their entire operations around AI, what does that actually look like day to day? Well, let's move on to the most visible part of this whole shift, the rise of a brand new kind of workforce, one made up of sophisticated, autonomous AI systems.
Yeah, we're talking about agentic AI, and these aren't just passive tools waiting for you to tell them what to do. Think of them more like proactive teammates that can reason, plan, and go after goals all on their own. For instance, you could have a marketing agent that doesn't just write one email for you. No, it plans the entire campaign. It analyzes the data, segments the audience, writes the copy, schedules everything, and then tracks the results, tweaking its own strategy as it goes. It doesn't just answer a prompt, it owns the entire goal. And believe me, this isn't some niche, futuristic idea. The market for this stuff is projected to just explode to over $93 billion by 2032. That's a growth rate of almost 45% a year, which is just staggering. To put that in perspective, that's growing faster than the internet did in its early days. That tells you how central this is becoming.
So, how does this new AI workforce actually, work together? Well, this slide breaks it down perfectly. It's kind of like a hyper-efficient human team. You've got your specialists, right? Each one is an expert. They talk to each other with clear messages. They coordinate to hand off tasks, and they keep everyone in the loop on their progress.
And this new workforce isn't just a bunch of generalists either. They're becoming highly specialized. We're seeing these Gen AI models being custom built for really high-stakes industries. Think law, finance, healthcare, places where getting it right, being compliant, and having a clear audit trail are absolutely non-negotiable.
But what's actually powering this new workforce of AI agents? To get that, we need to pop the hood and look at the engines themselves. And what's happening there is really fascinating. On one side, you have the giant cloud-based large language models we all know. But on the other side, there's this new wave of small language models, or SLMs. These little powerhouses run directly on your devices, right at the edge. And the benefits are just so clear. You get super low latency, way lower cloud costs, way better privacy because the data never leaves your device, and hey, they even work offline.
And if you're wondering why businesses are jumping on the SLM train, well, the data tells the story. As you can see, 40% of the motivation is coming from privacy and regulation. We're talking about things like GDPR and the new EU AI Act, which are really forcing companies to be smarter about data. Then you've got pure operational efficiency. And of course, that killer offline capability. So the models are getting smaller, but they're also getting way smarter about how they access information. This is where something called Retrieval-Augmented Generation, or RAG, comes into play. Think of it like this. Simple RAG is like asking a librarian to find a specific book for you. Corrective RAG is like that same librarian finding the book, but then also double-checking the facts inside to make sure they're accurate. And then you have hybrid RAG, which is like a super librarian who can pull info from a dozen books and understand all the complex relationships between the different concepts. It's a game changer. Which brings us right down to the base of the pyramid.
All these incredible agents and smart models, they can't exist in a vacuum. They need a rock-solid foundation of data and hardware to stand on. This is the layer where the long-term success of any AI strategy is really won or lost.
So the real secret sauce here is a total shift in mindset. In a modern AI-first world, data isn't just this messy byproduct of your business anymore. It's treated like a product itself. It's modular, it's reusable, and it's governed so it can be trusted and used by anyone across the organization. And the platforms you build on top of this idea, well, they're practically running themselves. They're self-tuning for the best performance, they're self-healing when things go wrong, self-scaling to meet demand, and they're even using AI to govern themselves. We're building automation right into the bedrock.
And you can't talk about the foundation without talking about hardware. And let's be clear, this is not just a corporate tech race anymore. It's gone geopolitical. Just look at the scale of government investment here. Tens of billions from the US and the EU, all to make sure their semiconductor supply chains are secure. That's how critical the hardware has become.
Okay, so finally, let's wrap this entire structure in the layer that holds it all together. The new rules for governance, security, and strategy that make all of this enterprise AI possible in the first place. A huge concept for 2026 is something called data neutrality. Look, as the AI market consolidates, you have to ask yourself, what if my biggest competitor buys my data provider? Yeah, not good. Data neutrality is all about maintaining total control over your digital crown jewels, so you can avoid getting locked into one vendor and protect your competitive edge. It's a strategic must.
And this table just lays it out so clearly. These are the 3 pillars of modern AI governance every leader needs to be thinking about. First, model risk management, which is being pushed hard by rules like the EU AI Act. Second, data sovereignty. There's this trend of geopatriation. Companies are literally moving sensitive data back to trusted clouds in their home regions to comply with local laws. And third, content integrity. We have to be able to verify where digital content comes from to fight the flood of deepfakes.
And just when you think you have it all figured out, there's a huge security threat on the horizon that changes everything: quantum computing. These machines will be so powerful, they could crack most of the encryption we rely on today, leaving everything vulnerable. And as this timeline shows, the race to fix it is already on. Standards were finalized in 2024. The EU is mandating migration starts in 2026. And by 2030, all critical infrastructure has to be quantum resistant. This isn't science fiction anymore, folks. It's a hard deadline. So to wrap it all up, it's so tempting to get distracted by the latest shiny AI feature. But what's really going to determine your long-term success is the strength and the foresight of your underlying architecture. That's what lets you adapt, scale, and keep innovating for years to come. So we'll leave you with this one question to really think about for your own organization. Your AI is only ever going to be as strong as its foundation. So is the one you're building right now truly designed for the future, or is it already on its way to becoming a legacy system? Thanks for tuning in.